Hello everybody and welcome back once again to Very Biased Opinions as we continue doing our predictions for the upcoming season. We have done League 1 and League 2 and you can see those videos on the channel if you haven't already done so. But today we are focusing on the Championship. As always, thank you to everybody that watches our videos. Please continue to like them. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and go and check out Grandstand Betters as well. There are going to be timestamps down in the description, but they're not going to give away where the teams finish. They're just going to give the numbers like 21st, 22nd, etc. You have to watch the video to see where the teams finish and stick around to the end because, Tom, we've got news of an exciting competition that we're running in conjunction with Grandstand Betters.
And don't forget we're an Amazon affiliate. Click below. Buy your Amazon stuff after you click below. It's a click for you. It makes us a little bit of money. Thank you very much.
And with all the self-promotion out of the way, let's jump in to these Championship predictions.
Fans of Very Biased Opinions are not going to be surprised that in 24th place we have Wycombe Wanderers. Wycombe Wanderers completed one of the biggest miracles in EFL history last season when they beat Oxford 2-1 in the playoff finals to secure second-tier football for their first time ever. Gareth Ainsworth worked wonders with the Chairboys, who with a bottom two budget barely had 11 players in July. One was Darius Charles, advised to retire from the arthritic hip, went on to become player of the season candidate, playing next to colossal Anthony Stewart. Anthony Stewart is what won them that game against Oxford. He was unbelievable. He had a great season, but that final match proved why he was important. Newly contracted Jack Grimmer may adjust better to the speed of the Championship football than fullback counterpart Joe Jacobson, who lacks Grimmer's vigorous energy, but is integral to Blues set pieces. This is going to be a really tough year for Wycombe. They did not get over 25% of the ball in a single of the playoff games. They're going to give it a go. They're probably going to fall honorably short. I cannot possibly see how this club stays up with the style of play they had in League 1. They went on a terrible run to end the season. They were not impressive in the playoffs. They did win. This isn't me criticizing you winning, Wycombe fans. It's criticizing the idea that you can go through like 40 matches in the Championship and get enough points to stay up. Wycombe Wanderers, bottom of the table, 24th place.
And remember, we do have a few Wycombe followers on this channel, so I'm sure they're going to give all their comments and hate mail like they did all the way through League 1, and we welcome it, quite frankly.
I will say also fair play. We accepted we were wrong last season. We accepted we incorrectly predicted it, so we're going to double down on it.
Going down with Wycombe Wanderers, who is the next club, Tom, that's finishing in 23rd place.
I think this makes me really sad to say it, but here's a club with a points penalty, and therefore they're getting relegated. Sheffield Wednesday are beginning the season on -12 after an independent disciplinary panel adjudged the club to have broken spending rules by including the sale of Hillsborough in their 17-18 accounts, despite the ground having been sold later on. Also, let's point this out. Something they misdid in 17-18, 18-19 is coming back to bite them in the ass 2021. This is a joke. Gary Monk kept Birmingham up comfortably in 18-19 after a 9-point deduction, but the former defender is less popular as manager of the Owls. In fact, I don't think anyone likes Gary Monk anymore. They've only taken...
How does he keep getting work?
I just drugs the owners and convinces them he's actually good at his job. They've taken just 47 points from 40 games under his leadership, only 4 wins in 23 post-Christmas. Wednesday have dropped alarmingly since playoff campaigns in 15-16 and 16-17 under Carlos Carvajal, and their decline could this season finally culminate in being bottom of the table or nearabouts. Sheffield Wednesday to be relegated 23rd place. And just above them, Ian, my least favourite side in the league. Tell me about them.
So 22nd place, we have Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town, what the hell is going on? They seem hell-bent on undoing all the good work they did under David Wagner, who got them into the Premier League, kept them in the Premier League, and was going about doing a half-decent job of keeping them in the Premier League for a second year as well. But now that seems a distant memory. Jan Siewert was always a bad choice. I don't know what the plan was there, but they got rid of him pretty early on. They brought in highly thought of Danny Temple-Cowley and his other Temple-Cowley brother, only to bin them off at the end of the season as well. So they're not good enough. We don't like it. And that was a massively unpopular decision with pretty much the whole of football, let alone everybody in Huddersfield. So, where do they leave them now? They've gone with relatively unknown Carlos Corberán is the new boss, but I have no idea what the plan is. I have no idea what the tactics are going to be. At least they've still got some firepower in the likes of Carlin Grant and Steve Mounier. But it's a poor squad. It's a poor squad, and if they can't bring in any more players, I don't see them avoiding relegation. And we've got them down, Thomas, in 22nd place.
Huddersfield fans, I don't dislike you. I dislike the way your club is run. I think it's a joke, and I think they've tanked their own side. Sort your shit.
Those are the sides relegated. Let's see who are the lucky side that miss out and finish in 21st.
Rotherham United ending in 21st. Most EFL managers aim to command respect by posing an unshakably tough exterior, but Rotherham United's boss is a joy, and he does the opposite. Paul Warren is not afraid at times to show his insecurities and vulnerabilities, and by doing this, he encourages his players to do likewise, and has created a unique culture in which everyone feels connected on an emotional level. The psychological aspect makes me giving Rotherham the marginal gains to keep them in this division. They get along well. They all feel open. This is a really modern football club.
It's a brotherhood.
They play a 4-3-3. They've brought in a fair amount of recruits. Freddie Ladapo and Chidozie Ogbene. Oh my God, I'm so sorry about this. Are in contention, but we can expect a narrower, more aggressive front three this season than they played last season. With one or two additions, Rotherham could possibly challenge higher up the table, but I think that they're going to get beat around quite a lot, and I think that their manager is going to be key. Rotherham United just got the relegation zone, 21st place. And in 20th place, it is
Luton Town, another miracle for this season, Thomas, and Luton to stay up. I think they're going to achieve it. They did remarkably well staying up last season. They looked dead and buried for most of it till an amazing end to the season. Pretty miraculous end to the season, really. Saw them lose 2 out of 15 games to claw themselves out of the relegation zone on the final day of the season. Credit to Nathan Jones, who remains a very good fit for Luton. Let's just forget about that little move he made to Stoke where it all fell away. He's gone back to Luton now. All is forgiven. He's doing a really good job. The squad is pretty much the same. They've only made one signing, but they'll be in a bit of a scrap, and it'll be a battle for every point. They've got some good players like Harry Cormett and James Collins, so they've got goals in the side. But, you know, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll stay up again. 20th place for Luton.
It's time to talk about the Sky Blues. Ian, who's in 19th?
19th place, Tom, is Coventry City. Wow. I fully accept the fact I didn't expect Coventry City to get promoted last season. They well worthy winners of League One. Mark Robins done an amazing job. 2 promotions in 3 seasons for Coventry City to get that dream of getting back into the Premier League one step closer. Build a statue of this man. Build it wherever Coventry feel they want to play.
And where is that?
Coventry, be it St Andrews, be it anywhere. That is probably the biggest problem still with Coventry, is these off the field issues still with Zizou, where they're not allowed to play in their own stadium at the Ricoh Arena. They have to still play at St Andrews, which wasn't a problem last season as they only lost 3 games on the way to the League One title. They were very, very good football inside as well, as you might expect. They can control possession in a lot of games, which is something you might find quite difficult for them to do this time round, which is why we haven't got them finishing quite so high in the table. They still got the likes of Shipley, Godden, Kelly, and let's not forget Dabo, who scored 2 own goals against Oxford United in a 3-3
What
draw.
is this, an Oxford United podcast?
Yes. Ambitious signings though, Tom. They paid over £1 million for Gustavo Harmer from Zwolle, and they've also signed in Marcel Hissler from Paderborn as well. Why are you laughing? Paderborn were a Bundesliga club last season.
They were last season.
And Tyler Walker is a good player as well. He's got potential, but he's never really shown it. Maybe this is his breakout year. It'll be a struggle, but Coventry will just be glad to be back there, and they'll be glad to be in 19th place and to stay up.
Yeah, I see them very much just kind of being part of the pack this season. Tough times, good times. Yeah. In 18th place, Ian.
Middlesbrough. I think it's fair to say, Thomas, that the Jonathan Woodgate experiment didn't quite go to plan at Middlesbrough. It was a really poor season, which nearly saw them go down, and it took Neil Warnock to come in and save Borough from getting relegated into League One. How long will Warnock last in this job? You really, really don't know. I cannot see him being a guy that spends a lot of time at Middlesbrough. I mean, he's in his 70s now, so don't be shocked if this isn't. It's not going to be a long-term appointment, is it? Goals were the massive problem last season, and they barely made any signings. If Marcus Brown doesn't get a game there, please loan him back to Oxford, because we'd love to have him back.
A Oxford podcast.
Another ex-Oxford player, Marvin Johnson, is probably, and Marcus Tavernier are the sort of players that can provide the assists for the likes of Britt Assombalonga and Ashley Fletcher. But I do feel that it's going to be another tough year, and that's why we've got Middlesbrough in 18th.
Ian, I'm giving you 2 points for saying Assombalonga correctly.
Yeah, I know that one.
In 17th place.
In 17th place, we have Birmingham City. The best thing Birmingham City did last season, Tom, was what?
To get rid of Pep Clotet.
Yes, I warned you that this guy was no good, and that's exactly what happens. He always starts well, he always ends badly and leaves within the year. Just about surviving has become the mantra for Birmingham City, or as it sees, although I do think Aitor Karanka is a good managerial appointment. He is a very good organiser, and he makes his sides hard to beat, and that's the sort of thing Birmingham City need. They've got Cliftonfeld, Maxine, Collins, Sunjit, Pedersen, so they have a very solid base, and they have Jutkovic still, who seems to always score goals. So he's been there for a long time, so you know, it's a very, very solid spine to the side. Not a pretty year for Birmingham, because Karanka never plays expansive football, but one where they'll be steady, and at least they're not like sweating that they're going to go down at the end of the year. That's enough talking for me, Tom. You tell us who's in 16th place, please.
We're about to talk about Reading, and most of it is going to rely or talk about their manager. So Mark Bowen took over at Reading last season in mid-October and kept them up. He did that, oversaw a top half form with effectively the same side that had only taken 8 points in the prior 11 games from being appointed. The former Stoke assistant got the best out of midfield playmaker John Swift, consistent right back Andy Yeadom, and defensive organiser Marcus Morrison, whilst promoting young left-footed defender Tom McIntyre after the restart. Despite fantastic results on paper, many natives felt uneasy about the Welshman leading the club in 2021, with the dearth of clear tactical identity in place being the primary reservation. It is highly likely this season the 56-year-old will leave his post as manager and become sporting director, having been a technical consultant before even becoming the manager here. Bowen's replacement as boss could probably be Veljko Paunovic, who has had some success at youth level in Serbia and in the MLS and Chicago Fire. This seems like an incredibly risky move on their part. I personally do not generally back managers in their first year coming to the championship. It's an incredibly difficult division, and if Marco Bielsa takes 3 years with the best team in the league to get promoted, I can't see this playing out well. This is going to be a year where they'll be lucky to end mid-table. It's going to be a slog. Reading in 16th. And in 15th place.
15th place, we have Barnsley. Thomas, play the Great Escape music for Barnsley. No, that's enough of that. We'll get demonetised. No, stop it. We'll get demonetised. Barnsley, virtually in the relegation zone all season, and that is why we're playing the Great Escape music, because they, like Luton, pulled a miraculous escape out of the bag on the final day of the season. Let's not sugarcoat it. They were a little bit fortunate with the Wigan situation, but do they care? Hell no. Gerhard Schruber was the hero who came in and did a wonderful job. It wasn't a quick fix, but by the end of the season, they weren't only winning games, but they were also very hard to beat and very hard to score against. They're a very hard-working side, and they like to press teams high and create mistakes. The likes of Jacob Brown, ex-Oxford United, Alex Mowat, Connor Chaplin, Killian Ludwig all had excellent seasons, and Cowley Woodrow was the star of his 14 goals. It's baby steps for the Tykes as they aim to improve on last season, and they think they will. A lower half finish with no relegation problems means progress for Barnsley. Thomas, 14th place, please.
QPR, managed by Mark Warburton. What Mark Warburton gets praised for and what he gets criticised for, two sides of the same coin. He encourages his players to be brave on the ball, make bold forward runs, play with freedom, which is a big part of why QPR scored 67 goals, which is their highest tally in 9 years, but they then went on to concede 76. Newly contracted Luke Amos is set to assume a box-to-box role next to strong sitter Dominic Ball after Abarichi Ease left for Palace. Other stars include speedster Bright Osayi Samuel on the right side of the attacking quartet, and midfielder turned left-back Ryan Manning, who will bring tenacity, drive, and a cultured deep delivery for Lyndon Dykes. The Livingston recruit will aim to score 20 goals for the Hoops, which is attainable in a Warburton setup designed to create chances. They have a defender in Johan Barbet, who is valued more for his contributions on the ball than off it, which is always dangerous, especially in a division like the Championship. QPR averaged 1.5 points per game last season with Barbet and 0.8 games without him. So a full campaign of classy diagonals from the Frenchman looks like it could help, as with the continued development of defenders Connor Masterson and Osman Kaikke. While Seny Dieng's excellent distribution makes him an intriguing contender for the number 1 jersey. It looks like another developmental season in the offing, but one thing's clear: if you're a QPR fan, it should be fun.
Yeah, they were a basket case of the club, really, weren't they, in terms of results? They were complete. It was never boring last year at QPR. No. But we move on to the club in 13th place, and we're moving on to a couple of sides now where we did disagree.
So in 13th place, we have Swansea City, and results can be deceptive. Swansea City may have reached the playoffs in Steve Cooper's first season in charge with a 4-place and 5-point improvement on the previous campaign, but they arguably looked a more complete and entertaining side the season before. Although Cooper, like Potter, favours possession-based football, there's a lot less positional rotation under his watch, and issues like the dearth of fullbacks who can attack the flank individualistically and the absence of a strong, dynamic midfield partner for deep-lying playmaker Matt Grimes have come to the surface. The one thing Cooper does have over his predecessor is contacts. A World Cup winner with England under-17s in 2017, the 40-year-old had the luxury in January of being able to loan some of the globe's best talent in centre-back Mark Guehi and attacking midfielder Conor Gallagher, not to mention striker Ryan Brewster. It's going to be really tough for them. Sustainable results cannot be found by asking a group of short-term stars to turn an average team into a good one. So we've got Swansea in 13th place. And in 12th place, it's...
12th place is Blackburn Rovers, and this is one I had to fight just to get them in 12th for whatever reason. You're not a big fan of Blackburn, are you, Thomas? I'm not sure why.
It's historical more than...
It's that Premier League win that you just can't get over.
Yes, that's my problem with them. And the Venkies.
There's a lot of sides that like to spend a lot of money to try and get them back to their past glories, but Blackburn haven't done that. They quietly go about their business. Mowbray's been there a while. They're just kind of a solid, if not spectacular side. Although, it doesn't look like they've got a lot of money to spend to try and rebuild the side. So it may be that's why I haven't got them pushing up any higher and building on what they did last season. It looks like it's going to be very much a kind of a consolidatory year, dealing with the squad they've kind of got and maybe trying to bring through some youth team talents. As I say, it's not changed too much. They've still got Armstrong, Dack, Gallagher, Holtby, but they're settled. What you just talked about with Swansea, where there's a lot of uncertainties, you don't get that so much with Blackburn, and that's why I just think they'll be very steady Eddie, sitting in the middle of the pack.
Tell us, Ian, who's in 11th place?
Bristol City, and you're absolutely right. It was a terrible end to the season, which not only saw them fall out of the promotion picture, but it also cost Lee Johnson his job. This is a club that were pushing for promotion through the playoffs for the last few seasons, but I'd just say there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off on that this season. They've got a bit of an experienced manager in Dean Holden, but at least he knows the club and he knows the players, and that is an important thing. They haven't got a very big squad, but they have got a lot of youth potential mixed in with experience. They've got players like Andres Vyman, Narky Wells and Ashley Williams. And then you've got the likes of Smodic, so Dowda, De Silva in the game, Asenga. They represent a lot of the attacking quality that they have in the side as well. On their day, they're a great side. They can beat anybody. I just think that maybe they've missed the boat a little bit on the promotion push over the last 2 seasons, and this is a season where they're a bit more middle of the pack. Okay, we move into the top 10. Who is 10th place?
Well, Ian, in 10th place, we've got Millwall. Just as Neil Harris's decision to part company with the club he spent a combined 18 years has benefited his latest employers, it's also benefited Millwall. Unlike his predecessor, Gary Rowett has no prior association, but there is something about his connection with the club that simply feels right, and is felt right on the pitch, with the Lions taking 54 points from his 35 games in charge. Rowett has drilled the South Burgundy side into one of the championship's best defensive units, with Bartosz Bielkowski, arguably the second-tier strongest stopper in 3 of the last 4 seasons, protected by 3 excellent centre-backs in the aggressive Sean Hutchinson, leader Alex Pearce, and gangly Jake Cooper. The latter could be a key reference point from set pieces, while Millwall's attacking threat from open play will come predominantly from Ryan Wood's midfield control and then Jed Wallace. Is anyone surprised that Millwall are good defensively? Physically, they're going to score goals from set pieces. There is no change. Gary Rowett fits this club like a freaking glove. It's the same Millwall we see every season. You're terrified to play them. They're going to batter and bruise you for most of the match. Troy Parrott, has been brought in from Spurs. He looks decent, even if Jose Mourinho will never let him play.
No.
Millwall do look short on quality pretty much everywhere outside defense, though. Rowett's going to have to show immense adaptability and imagination to get them to be more creative. We've got Millwall in 10th place.
Who have we got in 9th place?
We have Stoke City, and they have been one of the Championship's biggest underachievers since their Premier League relegation in 2018. Gary Rowett, who is obviously at Millwall now, and then Nathan Jones failed to get the best out of an expensive squad. But now, in Michael O'Neill, the Potters have a manager with successful international experience. I don't know why that matters at this level, but apparently it does. Drastic improvement under the former Northern Ireland boss, who's overseen an impressive 14 wins in 31 games in charge, was hinted at by performances. Opposing nets lived a charmed life under the fiery Welshman, but O'Neill turned a promising team into an efficient one. Sam Clucas has been pivotal to the turnaround, with the 29-year-old showing the energy, adaptability, and hunger stemming from his non-league start to slot seamlessly to 5 different roles, aiding O'Neill's formation changes. Every good manager has a G-Sling Park somewhere. Clucas is featured in 7 different divisions, yet could partner a former Champions League winner in John Obi Mikel, a classy midfield presence behind enigmatic creator Nick Powell. I mean, how has this happened? John Obi Mikel is at Stoke. Stoke entered late August with 33 senior professionals. Such depth could be of hindrance if O'Neill's tinkering becomes disruptive, but is more likely to help in a congested campaign. So we've got Stoke just outside the promotion spots in 9th place.
Another side just outside the promotion shocks, which might surprise some. Who have we got in 8th place?
I'm going to state openly that this was me putting my foot down. We picked who would win the division, and my next comment was, Watford are not getting promoted this year, to which Ian argued, and I put my foot down. Watford claim they're recruiting to win the summer, according to Gino Pozzo. Ambitious, yes, but it fits with their appointment of Vladimir Ivic, fresh from successive titles with Maccabi Tel Aviv. He only had 2 professional defeats in 2 seasons. This, to me, is not the sign of a great managerial choice. He has no experience in the Championship. The club are coming off losing a ton of games. They sacked Nigel Pearson for absolutely no reason and then thought they'd be fine. It looks like Jared Deulofeu is going to leave. Ismail Assar could still be there at the start of the season, but I kind of doubt it. We're looking at a lot of players leaving this club. Etienne Capoue, Troy Deeney, Craig Dawson, and Ben Foster are all good enough to be in the Premier League. If they stay with this club, yeah, sure, they've got every chance of going up, but I kind of doubt that. Doucouré is in talks, I think, with Everton about going there. And there's worries that Deeney's outspoken character may challenge the Serbs' demand for total authority. They're managers from Serbia. If he can get to grips with Troy Deeney and Troy Deeney can be the figure point of their attack, they'll be fine. But Troy Deeney doesn't really take orders that well. We've seen that enough times. If they can avoid a power struggle and keep their players, they'll be fine. I doubt that happening. I doubt this manager will last the season, because when was the last time a Watford manager lost the season? So after much debate, Watford in 8th place.
They seem to love to make random choices, don't they, with their managers?
But it's just like in the Championship, it seems to be openly accepted to be one of the hardest divisions to get out of. And the managers that tend to get their teams out have experience in the division, or experience at the clubs, or experience in English football, which allows them to get the players they need and understand the players you need to get promoted. I don't know what experience Vladimir Ivic has, and he's clearly taken the job for money, because Maccabi Tel Aviv get to try and qualify for the Champions League, and Watford have to play in the League Cup. Yeah. In 7th, Ian.
So we've got Cardiff City, and Cardiff City, Tom, made it into the playoffs last season, so it's a bit of a shame that we've got them just missing out this time around, but it was a bit of a remarkable achievement by Neil Harris. Really changed the club when he came in after Neil Warnock just didn't have the energy, really, did he, to carry it on anymore, and got them in there. They play a different style of football than most. There's a lot of possession-based teams in the Championship, but Cardiff are very much get the ball forward quickly, good from set pieces, hurl the ball into the box from long throw-ins every time they can. But it doesn't mean they're boring. It doesn't mean they're boring at all. They're enjoyable to watch and very effective in what they do. They've got players like Gavin White, Junior Hoylett, Robert Glatzel, Lee Tomlin, which shows they've got more than just a direct long ball side. They've got some good, skillful players there. And they've added Kiefer Moore in from Wigan, and he should do really well in this team too. It's very much a manager who's really got the whole team believing in his ethos and his style of playing. So I just don't think they're going to be good enough to get in the playoffs this time around. 7th place finish for Cardiff. We move on to the playoffs. And the side in 6th place, nicking that last playoff spot is...
We've gone with Norwich City. Norwich City were last relegated to this level in 2016 when they had an aging core of players, lagging infrastructure, and a massive revamp was called for across all departments. This time, though, a run of 10 straight defeats and a bottom place finish led to 10 new players coming in, but the key ingredients are in place.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Tom, Norwich have been planning for the whole reason why they won the league a few seasons ago was to get relegated so they could win the league again. They've planned for it. How can they not be winning this league by 100 points?
Quite literally, their players are not good enough to be in the Premier League. They're coming off a ton of losing football and bad form. I think we've seen from Timo Pukki that maybe he'll get it going again in this league, but I think this league is going to be really hard for them. I don't see them having a squad that can really do this, and I think it shows that they've been relegated. Not a lot of their players have been picked up by Premier League teams. At best, this is their level. I don't see them being head and shoulders better than anyone else. They're lucky with some of their players. Let's see if Buendia can actually do it this year, because at times he looked unplayable last season, and at other times he looked like a black hole where you gave him the ball and he was just going to lose it. If Norwich can get everything right, if Daniel Farke can completely turn around the culture of accepting losses, and that's what they did last season. It looked like they wanted to lose games. It looked like they were planning on it. And I've coached football sides, and once you've lost 3 or 4 games, it's almost impossible to instill a winning spirit into a side. And now you're telling a bunch of professionals to go from literally lying over dead in the middle of the pitch to we have to go challenge for the toughest league in the country. So fuck that. Norwich will be lucky. 6th place.
Okay, lucky Norwich getting 6th. But who's above them in 5th?
Right, this is one I'm far more sold on. Preston North End. I don't back Norwich, but I back Preston. I mean, this makes no sense to me.
Hey.
Why,
Thomas? Tell us why.
I think Preston might be a bit like Wycombe were in League One. They've got one of the Championship's lowest budgets, but they seem to always be in contention for the playoffs. This is a credit to the coaching capabilities of manager Alex Neil, who's been working with a squad that had, last season, 2 massive limitations. The absence of a natural attacking left-back, and the absence of a complete centre-forward. 2 black holes in the lineup. So why, you ask me, do we think they'll do well? I'm not actually sure. Scott Sinclair has played a fair proportion of games on the left after joining in January and brought a bit of quality, while the other addition last season was that of leader Patrick Bauer, who formed a fine centre-back pairing with Ben Davies. The latter, one of the most complete Championship defenders last time, has stayed at Deepdale, and if they can keep him, that will be fantastic. It's taken Neil some time to identify the strongest midfielder to partnership Pearson and operate just behind the creative Daniel Johnson, who thrived with a freer reign last time. All-rounder Tom Bayliss, that's right, he bats and he bowls. Driving stalwart Alan Brown and technical veteran Paul Gallagher and the energetic Ryan Ledson are the current candidates. Jordan Story, Josh Earl, Josh Harrop, Billy Bowden and Brad Potts will all be reliable fringe players in what could be a long-awaited top 6 finish. We're backing them to do it. We think they've just got enough about them. Preston North End, 5th place.
Yeah, very good, Thomas. I like that. You just missed out that Ryan Ledson was an ex-Oxford United player, but I can forgive it.
Oh, good. Well, I want you to tell me about the team in 4th, Ian.
Rooney! Tom, did you know Wayne Rooney plays for Derby?
What?
Yeah, I know. And that is who we're talking about in 4th place. We've got Derby County. Up and down last season for them. At times they were really good, but they fell away at the end after coming back after the COVID break. So a bit of a drop-off from Lampard, who got them in the playoffs a couple of seasons ago. But bringing in a manager like Koku, being like a guy who's come in from Holland, ex-great Holland player, you expect this to be a long-term. Go on.
I was just going to say, all my criticisms of managers coming in isn't that they're good enough, it's that they need time. And I think that's what Koku's had. He's had a whole year to develop this team.
Exactly right. Exactly what I was going to say. It's like kind of, he's going to have a specific style of how he wants to play, and it's probably going to be around like sort of playing very good football, building from the back, and you need to have the certain players in order to do that. The chairman wants an emphasis more on bringing through academy players rather than splashing the cash. But let's not say Rooney's the guy who gets all the headlines. Whenever you talk about Derby, it's going to be Rooney, and he is a wonderful player for them to have at the club. He's still such a great footballer, and he's won pretty much everything in the game. But behind him, they do have good players as well. Andre Wisdom, Martin Waghorn, Tom Lawrence represent the experience in the side. Jaden Bogle, Lee Buchanan, Max Bird, Jason Knight represent the promising young talent. I think it's good times for Derby, and I think it's going to be a good season, and that's why we've got them finishing so high. But who we've got in third place, Tom?
We've got Nottingham Forest in third. They had, on paper at least, their best season since this 10-11 season. But the final day, 4-1 capitulation against Stoke saw them miss out in the playoffs. One would have to search Trentside wide, far and wide, to find an upbeat red after that result. A deserved 2-0 win over eventual title winners Leeds in early February prompted automatic promotion hopes, but the 1-0 home defeat to would-be relegated Charlton 3 days later was symptomatic of their season. 6 wins against top 6 opposition, of which 5 were followed directly by dropped points against sides below them. This was a very uneven team last year that showed they had the capacity to beat the top, whilst never seeming to be able to figure out the bottom sides. These trends could even out this season, and it's all they really need to end in the top half and in the playoff place. There's also the possibility that with less fans at the match, the players might not have the weight on their backs. Much like Sunderland and Portsmouth in League One, this is a club that think that they're better than they are and are always demanding that they go up. And I think that gets on the back of players, and it's quite possible that playing without fans will actually help them out. But then it didn't help them out at the end of last year, so what do I know? Fresh ideas from Lamucci and continued clinical finishing from Lewis Graben alongside Charlton recruit Lyle Taylor would lay final day ghosts to rest. It'll keep Forest in the mix. We see them being the best of the playoff sides and ending in third place. Now, Ian, it's time for the final two. And in second place is a club close to my heart.
Getting promotion from the Championship, we have in second place AFC Bournemouth.
Eddie White!
Yes, Tom is obviously crying about the death of Eddie Guerrero back in the mid-2000s. No, sorry, he's not. Tom is obviously upset about Eddie Howe. It was extremely sad because we both like Bournemouth. Sad to see them go down, and sad to see Eddie Howe leave after 100 years in charge. Marking his centenary year with the relegation was a bit sad to see. But at least Bournemouth are not doing a Huddersfield by throwing it all away and throwing what Eddie built in the garbage. They've given the assistant manager, the guy that worked closest with him, Jason Tyndale, the promotion to be the manager this season. And I haven't really got much to say other than the fact to just look at their squad. And I will do the Thomas Pickering Bayern Munich approach to this, where he just reels off all their good players. But let's not forget as well that they have got money burning a hole in their pocket, and I do expect them to make future signings with the Premier League parachute money and the fact that Ake got sold for 40 million and Ramsdale got sold for 18 million, I believe it was. But let's just have a look at some of these players. We've got the Cook brothers. They're not brothers, but Steve and Lewis. We've got Dan Gosling. We've got Josh King, Dominic Solanke, Callum Wilson, Junior Stanislas, David Brooks, all Premier League players, in my opinion. And so for me, that is just a talent pool far too good for the Championship. And I see Bournemouth back in the Premier League next season. How about that, Tom?
Nothing would make me happier, except maybe that when they go up, Jason Tyndall steps aside and lets Eddie back in charge. But for those of you that can't quite figure out who's ending in first place, this was a bit of a slam dunk decision for us. Ian, tell us about Championship winners 2020-2021.
Go Bees! Woo! Yes, that's right. We have Brentford winning the league. Brentford absolutely fantastic last season, despite them choking a little bit at the end of the season, certainly in terms of that, where they could have had the chance of getting ahead of West Brom at the end, and they lost those 2 games. And then they lost a very tight game to Fulham in the final of the playoffs as well. So they're a little bit unlucky at the end. But they were magnificent for most of the season. And I see Thomas Frank's side bouncing back from that blow to win the league this season. It pretty much feels like a Premiership side. The fact that they've moved away from Griffin Park now into that new stadium as well, it seems like a side that should be playing in top flight football. They have lost Ollie Watkins, which is a little bit of a blow. But as we've learnt today, as filming this, Tom, Ivan Toney has come into the club to fill the boots, and I'm sure he will do an excellent job. If you go back and watch the videos I did about Brentford when they were in the playoffs.
Just going to quickly say, they haven't lost him yet. but they almost certainly are losing him, with reports that Villa are offering him 70 grand a week.
I jumped ahead of myself, but I feel that with Tony coming in, it's only a matter of time before Watkins does move on. But they're an excellent club on and off the field. The recruitment philosophy is absolutely outstanding. And Thomas Frank gets his tactics spot on at both ends of the field. I mean, just to go back on the point about recruitment, they've made comparisons to Moneyball where they get players in without like spending big money on them, getting the big names. They work out players that will be a good fit for them, and they bring those players in. 16 clean sheets last season, 80 goals, shows what a great job they did. Ben Rama, Membueo, Marcandones, De Silva, Pinnock, Dalsgaard, Norgard. So I'm just doing the bloody Bayern Munich thing again and reeling off their players. Raya in goal is a little bit erratic, but he's generally pretty good. And let's not forget about Shandon Baptiste and Tariq Fosu, who came in from Oxford as well. And finally, they signed a guy called Hercules, Tom. How can you go wrong?
Is he Brazilian? I don't know why.
I don't know if he is. I just saw his name was Hercules, and I thought I'm going to add that in because he's going to add strength to the team. Boom, boom. So, there it is. Brentford winning the league.
Okay, everybody, that's it. Those are the championship predictions. Now, very quickly before we end, let me just say that we have a Premier League predictions competition running. £400 of prizes, 50 quid after 10 matches, 50 quid after 20 matches, 50 quid after 30 matches, and £250 the team that comes first at the end of the season. All you have to do is sign up. It's free, just with your email. Put in your predictions every week. You're going to go head-to-head with me, Ian, and our fantastic sponsor, Grandstand Bettors. And on top of this, if you're buying anything from Amazon, please look below. We're an affiliated seller. Even if you're not buying the product that we have in the link, click through it. It's a small click for you. It gives us a little bit of commission, and it helps us out to grow this channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see you tomorrow for Premier League predictions.
Part 1.